Hi and welcome to this video. In the previous video, you have learned the concepts about variables and data types in Python. In this video, we'll actually implement that into code. So first of all, we will talk about variable assignment. If you remember, the way you assign a variable in Python is you give the variable name and use the equal sign and just write the value. So here, as you see, a is equal to 5. And the value of a is assigning to 5. Now, there are two ways by which you can actually print the value of a variable in Jupyter Notebook. The first is you just type the variable name a and then execute the code. As you see, now you have the value of 5 in the output section. And the second way is to use print function. You will type print and then parentheses and the variable name and close the parentheses. When you execute this cell, you again get the value of the variable. The next section is we will learn about how variables work in Python. Remember that this is the same example that you have seen in the previous video. So first you will initialize a with some value, say 7. A is equal to 7. And that means a points to 7. Next you say b points to a. That basically means that b also points to 7. Now you change the value of a and you say a points to 3. And the question is, what will be the value of a and b? From the previous video, if you remember, you can easily guess now that the value of a will be 3 because we have changed it manually here. And the value of b will still be 7 because we haven't made any changes to it. Now, the point to remember about a cell in Jupyter Notebook is each line gets executed in sequential order. So the first line was executed, which is a is equal to a. So a is pointing to 7. Then we say, okay, b is also pointing to 7 because the value of b is equal to a. And then we say, okay, now a is pointing to 3. So the reason we are getting this output is because these lines are executed in the same order. Now let's come to the variable naming rules. As we have already seen in the previous video that there are a couple of rules that you need to follow while naming a variable. For instance, Python is case sensitive. And you cannot use any special character apart from underscore character to name to start a variable's name. And also there are some keywords in Python which you cannot use to name a variable. For instance, false, class, finally is return, none. So these words are actually reserved for Python. You cannot create a variable with that reserved name. This is a useful piece of information that you should know. Let's see some examples. So you have a variable called capital A, which is equal to 4. And when you print the capital A, you will realize that. Let's print one more time. Let's first define A. And now we can print the A. And you know that A is equal to 4 and lowercase a is equal to 5. So they are two different numbers. We have already seen this in the previous video that Python is case sensitive. That means there is a difference between lowercase a and capital A. So these are actually two different variables according to Python. Let's look at some other rules to define the variable names. So we have a normal naming convention, which in this case lowercase a is equal to 5. And if you run this cell, you will find out that it works. And now let's try underscore and use underscore a is equal to 5 and run this cell, and it works as well. And we don't get any error with underscore a because it's a legal and valid variable name. Now let's try @a. And when you execute this cell, you will get a syntax error. Suppose we write another special character. And let's use here $sign. And let's type here $sign. And run the cell. Again, you will get a syntax error. So if we replace this $sign with underscore and execute the cell, there wouldn't be any problem. So we are not getting any syntax error. So basically, you cannot start the variable's name from any special character apart from the underscore. This is the only special character that is allowed. Again, another important rule is that you cannot start a variable name with a number. Let's see, 1a is equal to 5 and run this cell, you'll get a syntax error. So I cannot start with a number, but you can start with a letter and then you can have a number after that. And if you run the cell, we will not get any syntax error. So when you include number, not at the beginning, but in the middle, you will see that the error has vanished. But if you just write the number as the first character of the variable name, you'll see that the error is coming. So these are the couple of rules that Python follows, and you'll get very comfortable with them over time. And I wouldn't worry about remembering each of these rules. That is totally normal that you forget them. The next thing we talk about is the data types. What kind of data can you store in your variables? So first of all, you can see the data types here: integer, string, float, and boolean. Let's start with the integer type. In integer type, you can use regular numbers, say 5, 6, -10. Let's say a is equal to 5 and run this cell. And in order to learn the type of the data, you can use the type command. Type, open the parentheses, a and close the parentheses. And if you run this cell, you'll see int refers to integer. So the second type of data is the string. Now let's say we have a variable b, which is equal to book. And you see the double quotation marks around book. And that shows that this is a string or str data. And let's run this cell. And then let's learn the type of b, which is string. And now, just like integer and string, you can also give real values or decimal values like 5.55 to a variable. And now the type of this value is float. So let's run this cell, and type C is float. And finally, you can also give values like true or false, and the type of this variable is boolean. So let's see, d is equal to true, and type of d is bool or boolean data type. So boolean data types can take two values, true and false. You can feel free to experiment more and create a couple of new variables if you would like. Another interesting topic that you need to know is type conversion. Python defines the type conversion functions to directly convert one data type to another. For instance, you have your age, which is a decimal number, 26.33. And you want to get just the years from the age. You don't want the decimal part. So if you type my age equals, and when you convert data, you want to type data type that you want to convert, in this case int integer, and open the parentheses, write the variable name. And now if we can execute all this cell, you will see that the int function gets the years, the whole number from the entire 26.333. And you can also convert string to integer. So let's say you have one variable which is equal to, in quotation mark, a number. And if you have quotation mark around a number, you cannot sum number with a number in quotation mark. Let's try. My integer is equal to string 2 plus 6. And if you run this cell, you will get an error. So what you can do is, first you need to convert the string number into integer. Then you can do your summation. And here in this case, integer in the parentheses, the variable value is going to convert the string to integer, which is 2. And when you do this calculation and run the cell, you'll see now you can sum 2 plus 6. So the reason I show this example to you is sometimes in real world, the data set comes in form of a string. So even if you have numbers, that numbers could be written in single quotation or double quotations, which are used to represent string in Python. So if you want to use those numbers in your calculations, you need to first convert them to integer data types. So this was all about the variables and data types in Python. I recommend that you practice more. Thank you.